In this video, we're going to review the properties of exponents and then do a couple of sample problems. Let's start with the multiplication and division rule. The multiplication rule states that x to the n power times x to the m power equals x to the n plus m power. For example, if we had x squared times x cubed, this would simply equal x to the 2 plus 3, or x to the 5th. Similarly, for the division rule, we have x to the n over x to the m equals x to the n minus m. So if we had x to the 5th over x squared, that would be x to the 5 minus 2, which is equal to x to the 3rd. Next, we have the power rule. So if we have, in parentheses, x to the n, and you take that to the power of m, that is equal to x to the n times m. So for example, if we have x to the 4th, and we raise that to the 5th power, that is equal to x to the 4 times 5, which is equal to x to the 20th. The zero property of exponents states that x raised to the 0 power is equal to 1, as long as x does not equal 0. So as a quick example, if we took 7 to the 0 power, this would equal 1. Likewise, if we took negative 12 to the 0 power, this would also equal 1. Next, we have the negative exponents rule, which states that x to the negative n power is the same as 1 over x to the n power. For example, if we had x to the negative 3rd power, this is equivalent to 1 over x to the 3rd. Lastly, let's talk about the fractional exponents rule. This states that x raised to the 1 over n power is equivalent to the nth root of x. For example, if we had x to the 1/2 power, that is equal to the square root of x. If we had x to the 1/5 power, that is equal to the 5th root of x. If we had something like x to the 3/4 power, this is equal to the 4th root of x cubed. Now that we have the exponent properties defined, let's do some practice problems. Are these equivalent? X times the square root of y to the 5th power and the square root of x to the 4th power over x times y squared times the 6th root of y cubed. So what we're going to do, we're going to simplify both of these expressions, or at least get them in the same form. So with the first one, we have x times the square root of y to the 5th. So using the fractional exponent property in reverse, we're going to rewrite this to x times y to the 5/2 power. Let's move on to the second expression. So we have the square root of x to the 4th. So that is equal to x to the 4/2 power, and then we have that over x, and we're multiplying that times y squared times y to the 3/6 power. We can simplify this even more, because now we can take x to the 4/2, that's just x squared, and then over x, times y squared times y to the 3/6, which can be simplified to 1/2. Now we're going to combine those a little more. So x squared over x is just x using the division property. So it's x to the 2 minus 1. And then we multiply that by y squared times y to the 1/2. So using the multiplication property, we can do y to the second power plus 1/2 power. So that is y to the 2 1/2, or making that an improper fraction, y to the 5/2. So we have x times y to the 5/2 on the right expression, and we have x times y to the 5/2 on the left expression. So yes, these are equivalent. Next, we're going to find x. So 5 to the x plus 3 power equals 1. So at first glance, this may look a little confusing because we have one side with an exponent and the other side is just 1. But if we remember the 0 property, anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. So all we need to do then is set x plus 3 equal to 0. Because if we can make that exponent 0, then 5 to the 0 will equal 1. So this simplifies to, we'll subtract 3 from both sides, of course, and this will just be x is equal to -3. Lastly, write y in terms of x. So we have the square root of 2 to the y power equals 2 cubed to the x power. So what we're going to try to do here is we're going to set both bases equal to 2. That way we can get the exponents set equal to each other. So first we have the square root of 2 to the y power. So we're going to rewrite that as 2 to the 1/2. So we use that fractional exponent rule. And then to the power y. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply that 1/2 by the y using the power rule. So that's going to give us 2 to the y over 2 equals, now we have 2 cubed. We're not going to turn that into an 8 because we want to keep the base 2. But we will apply the power rule. So 2 cubed raised to the x power is just 2 to the 3x power. Now we have 2 to the y/2 equals 2 to the 3x. So now we can set y over 2 is equal to 3x. Now we're going to multiply both sides by 2. And that's going to give us y is equal to 6x.